Hello, you're welcome. You're welcome onto my channel today, and it gives me great joy to observe you are viewing this video. I am Dr. Olayinka Konle. I am a lecturer in the university. On this channel, I do a number of stuff, but all the stuff I do, research is also a very important component of them. I've done a lot on research, and on this channel, kindly view the playlist on research to view those videos I've done on research. And I've done a number of videos on research designs. So today, I want to drop this video on another research design. What is it? Longitudinal research design. Longitudinal studies. This is a very nice, very important research design, like others actually, but it's rarely used. And I will show you some reasons why this may be so, because I will tell you about advantages and disadvantages of this research design. And I will tell you also types that you may have, then I will tell you what it means and give you some example. So stay tuned to this today, and make sure you click subscribe on your screen right now if you have not subscribed to this channel. If you have subscribed to this channel, kindly share this video and drop your comment. Feel free anytime. So this longitudinal research design, this is a research process, research design, where research subjects, participants are followed up over time for continuous, data collection, for continuous monitoring. The key word here is the extended follow-up, extended period of time of data collection and monitoring, depending on your research objectives, depending on the kind of data you want to get. So it says data collection, process where, you want to understand the risk factors, the causes, the consequences, the trends, the patterns, the dynamics, the dimensions, of the issues, and I've told you that research design is like a building plan. Is the structure, that guide your research. So from this research design, you want to gather this data, not just like cross-sectional, where you just collect data just once across different sections. I dropped a video on survey. You talk about cross-sectional, where you collect data on the same issue across the same population at different sections within a short period of time. But cross-sectional, you follow up the same group of people with unique, characteristics. The same group of people with unique characteristics over a period of time. You'll be able to say of a fact, this is defined. Unlike cross-sectional, I just say one-off. But this one, you stay on it over an extended period of time, following up the same set of people, sometimes over many years, many decades, depending on the complexity, depending on the objective, depending on the size, depending on the duration you are interested in, depending on the size of the group you are following, depending on the complexity of the issue you are interested in. You may be looking at the incidences, of a particular situation. You may be interested in the causes of a particular problem or a particular experience of people. So it can be depending on what you are interested in. And at the extreme cases, you may follow up with a set of people for decades, many years, over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It can be depending. Then it can, in some other extreme cases, can be just for a few weeks. It can also be a few days. But usually, the more extended the period, the more accurate we think your research will be, the more valid, the more reliable, depending on what you are interested in. So it can be decades, can be weeks, can be days, but it has to be extended period of time, depending on the size, the complexity, and the duration you are interested in. And your groups, we are following up maybe small groups and maybe large groups, depending on your interest. But you are looking at what you are looking for. Incidences, morbidity, mortality, efficiency, motivation, labor turnover, and relationship and causes that you may be interested in. This one will determine why you are choosing a longitudinal. and will determine how long you will stay. You know, there have been very many, few actually, groundbreaking, groundbreaking longitudinal study. Very important one that is so popular is the 1970 British cohort study. This 1970 British cohort study, I'll tell you more about cohort study later on. This 1970 cohort study, British cohort study, followed the lives of 17,000 Brits since birth, since they were born. 17,000 of them, to understand incidences, dynamics, and patterns of certain issues among these 17,000 people, British. 17,000. And this is also linked to the 1971 Office of Population Census and Surveys. This 1971 talks about 1% of sample of British population. Taking 1%, just to understand some particular elements, well-being, lifestyle, incidences, and within the population. And they took this 1% of the total population of Britain, and this have been a very landmark issues. These cases I've mentioned, just following them up, there was a pattern they discovered, and they think, okay, let's take from this sensor, let's take 1%. I told you in one of my sampling videos that usually to have a representative sample, it depends on how painstaking your sampling process is, and sensors can cover the whole population. But if you want to take representative sample, we think it should be 10%. But you can take 1% depending on how painstaking your sampling process is ultimately. So it's very important to know this. And you can also, there are studies, you can do twin studies. There have been studies on twins, looking at putting twins together. There's some communities where I will not mention the name of that community, where the highest number of twins born in history across the world. The place is in Africa, so go find out. You can do twin studies to understand why are they having twins in this population more than any other place in the world. You can do twin studies, find out what is it about the culture, about the people that's making them have the highest number of twins in the world. You can do twin studies, do a longitudinal study. There have been longitudinal studies on twin studies in this community I'm mentioning. Some actually nearly turned up that population, that community, to a laboratory where they are doing twin studies. It's a community in Africa, and people have studied this community. Many of them have followed up the twins, the parents of the twins, the community, studied their diet, their behavioral patterns, and the rest of it. You can also do studies. Then you can, you may look at the progress of the population in longitudinal study, their well-being of children born in a particular period of time, throughout their life, to understand. You can also do, for example, you can want to do this, you can understand the incidences of diseases in a particular community. You may want to choose a company to understand why this company remains the best in this particular sector. It can be in human relations. Why do they have employment relations in this particular company better than others? And you may study this company over many years. You may want to understand what is it that is unique about the human resources practices of company A over other companies in the same sector. You may study this company over a long period of time to understand their human resources behavior. You can also do, for example, you may want to understand why is it that we have so many scorpions in a particular community, and what is the relationship between scorpion stings and their behavior. Why, if they have so many scorpions in their communities, why is it that you can even make it experimental, those that have scorpion stings and those who do not have, what do you think will be their health outcome? Why are some people having more longevity than others in the population? What's the behavioral pattern of those people that have been attacked by scorpions over the years? And do they behave in certain ways? You may want to understand how dangerous scorpions are. You may take a community where they have a lot of scorpions and begin to study them. What are their behavioral patterns? What are their economic outcomes? What are their health outcomes? What's their mortality rate, morbidity rate? Do they have unique? You may also want to understand scorpion behavior. If you are an animal scientist, you may stay in that community for so long. So I'm just giving different examples of what, but in longitudinal, research design or longitudinal studies, You may triangulate. You may use different types of data collection. You may do quantitative. You may do qualitative. The most important thing is that is within longitudinal research design. So what are the types of longitudinal designs that you have? We have basically 3, but I'll make it 5 so that I can collapse them. But we have basically 3 types. But for this purpose of this video, I'll make it 5 so that I can explain another 2 for you that people usually confuse. You have panel studies as a component. You have cohort studies or cohort design or panel design. You have record linkage design or record linkage study. Then the last 2, because some people will say we have 2 types. You have prospective and retrospective. You may find some videos, you may find some books that will say we have 2 types, prospective and retrospective. You may have some people that will say you have 3 types, panel, cohort, and record linkage. So, but I don't want you to be confused. But you will see the relationship and differences now as I continue. That's why I say we have 5 types from my own perspective, based on my research and experience. Panel, if you look at panel studies, this is where you collect data on a group in a population, based on a baseline that you have established. You may have baseline, maybe census gives you a baseline. Then from census, like the British, example I gave, take the census. They took 1%. The census can give you a baseline. Then you may not take a sample from this population and begin to follow that sample up, just like the British example in 1971 took 1%. You may take a sample of percentage of any percent from this population and study them over a period of time, so that this point is very important. You can see the individual behavioral change over time. So in panel, though you are following up a group, but you are also interested in individual element in that population to see the behavioral change of the individual and how this can aggregate for the whole group you are following. Then you have cohort. What I mentioned before was panel. The panel type, where you follow up a group of people over a period of time so that you can understand individual behavioral change, individual trajectory within it. So the collectivity or collectivization or aggregation of the individual behavioral change gives you an insight into the behavioral change of the whole group. So the panel type wants to give you from bottom up, from individual behavioral change to the aggregate behavioral change of the group. I think you are getting it. That's panel. Individual. Study the group over a period of time, extend the period of time, so that you can understand the group behavioral change through the behavioral change of the individual member of the group. Then the next one is cohort. The cohort type talks about following up a specific group of people with unique characteristics. The characteristics can be their age, can be their ethnic group, can be their religion, can be their gender, can be different things, can be their income, can be their disease burden, but something must be unique to them, define all of them to a specific group outcome. So now the difference between panel and cohort is the fact that why panel may work through the individual. In cohort, you are simply interested in the specific group outcomes. You are not looking at the individual. You are interested in the specific group outcomes. You are not trying to go through the individual or isolate individuals to be able to reach a conclusion about the group. No. Now, the third one is record linkage type. Record linkage study or record linkage design. Now, this one now talks about, when you form a record or unit, data record, data unit from different data sources. You have different data sources. Then you bring them together to form your own data in a longitudinal way. That means you collect data from different data sources over time. Then this data from different data sources are joined, are collectivized together into a single data set for your own use. Interesting, isn't it? Now, you have different data sources. You have a birth register, you have death register, you have employment register, you have benefit register, you have immigration register, you have all manner of register, educational register, you have registry. Then you have archive. You went to the archive. So you bring all of these data sources together to form your own data set in a way that it can give you sampling frame. Then it can also assist you to remove duplicates. That means you don't have duplicate data. Then you use it to form your own sample frame, which you're going to use. But these data were of different sources, but you are linking them together. That's what we call it record linkage. But the important thing about this, is the fact that you may not be the original data collector. You may just have used record from other sources for you to use. And this actually became prominent from the 1950s, when you try to get data from. So you record data from different sources, you collect them, then you join them together into your own single data set. But this data, importantly, must be data over many years. And that's the longitudinal part of it. Over many years for your single purpose. Now, two broad groups that I joined to this to make it 5 is, are the prospective longitudinal and retrospective. This simply talks about the approaches you are using in your longitudinal. Are you doing it real time, or are you doing it based on arrears? For example, you can categorize record linkage into retrospective, and you can categorize cohort and panel into prospective longitudinal. But there are also types. You can categorize them as 5, the way I put it to make it clear. Now, what is prospective? Prospective longitudinal means that you are collecting data in real time. Usually, you are collecting it in real time, following up same participants over time. Same participants, you are following them up, and you are collecting data on them repeatedly. You are gathering data repeatedly to validate whatever patterns you are finding. You are following up, repeatedly. You are collecting data. You are monitoring the same group of people, maybe born the same year over many years, maybe employed the same year over many years in the organization. So, but it's real-time data collection of your research participants over a period of time. Real time, you're collecting the data real time. Current data. But retrospective, the way I will put retrospective, which is my own word, is a study in arrears. Longitudinal study in arrears. That means this is not real time. That means you are collecting data on a group of people based on historical data. Historical data probably you did not collect yourself. It can be archival data based on secondary sources. Secondary sources, not real-time primary data. Can be from different sources, but it's retrospective because they are historical data that you are gathering. And this can also talk to record linkage in a way. So that means you are collecting data on a group based on historical data, archival data, secondary sources. Can be from literature, can be from databases online, can be from the database of World Bank, CIA, can be databases of WHO, can be databases of United Nations, International Migration Organization, ILO, International Labour Organization. These organizations have data over many years. They have data. So it depends on what you are looking for and how you are going about it. And that's why I always encourage my students, use secondary data to show patterns, to show trends. So you can do longitudinal study through retrospective approach. You just show over many years what has been the unemployment rate of a group of people using their age, using their social demographics over many years. So you followed it up in that manner. So now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of longitudinal research design or longitudinal study? Advantages, it gives you real sequence of events, real sequence of incidences. You can follow it up because you have been on it for long periods. So it gives you real sequence. Then you can establish cause and effects Because don't forget, this is a group you have been following up for many years, many months, many weeks, many days, depending on how complex your research is. You can easily establish cause and effect. You can even do experimental research within longitudinal. Oh, interesting. You embed it. I have a video on experimental research design. So you can establish the fact that A causes B. And you can control for variable, intervening variables. You can control for it because you're on it for a long time. You're not in a hurry. In fact, some longitudinal research design did not start to be so extended. It's based on dynamics and nuances they are finding that they continue to extend it until they are able to reach the exact accuracy. So accuracy is very important. This is a research that can give you accurate. It's more accurate than any other research design you might use. It's also good for impact study. You can say A causes B. You can step into and it allows you to have detailed data. Detailed, very detailed, because you were on it for so long. What are these disadvantages that make some people not to use it? Number one, it can be very expensive. Imagine you being on the same research for 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Oh, that's a long time. Or more. Or even weeks. Or even days. When you can do cross-sectional, you can finish within a short time. So it can be very expensive. It can be cumbersome. Or you'll be on it for so long. The massive data can be cumbersome. Then can be very technical. You need technical expertise to be able to pull this through. They can be time-consuming. Or like survey, cross-sectional study they can do in 1 week or just a short period of time across section of the population. This one you can be on it for weeks, months, years, can consume time. Some people would rather find more, they will have faster research designs that can achieve the same purpose. But it depends, don't forget, on the research you are doing, your objectives, your complexity, the size you are interested in, and the issue you are interested in, and your affinity for accuracy and exactness, is very important. So it's useful, but it depends on what you want. All research designs can be used, but it depends on your primary objectives. Then you need a lot of commitment and commitment of donors to be able to stay so blunt on it. Then you can have respondent fatigue, respondent burden. They feel encumbered. Your respondents feel encumbered after a period of time. They are tired of it. So that can be a major problem. And you have high level of attrition, rate of attrition. Some people may say, well, I don't want to participate anytime. I'm already tired of this. I've had enough, no matter what it is. So there is also the issue of attrition. People dropping off. This is a very nice video. I enjoyed myself. I hope you enjoy yourself too. Kindly click subscribe and tell others. Share as widely as possible. Drop your comment. Bye for now.